Alright, hello everybody. This will be the first in a set of videos that will go through how to use source control on your files with a program called Fossil. We're going to go over how version control works and the basic invocation of Fossil. So first off, Fossil is a version control tool. You can get it from their website, Fossil-scm.org. In order to install it, you actually download just a binary file, and you need to put that in a special location so that your file system will be able to see it. I won't go over how to do that here, but the other tool that I'm using is called cmder, which is an easy way to launch the Windows command prompt with some additional features that make this much easier. In particular, if you were to download the Fossil binary and then place it in the folder where you installed cmder and you copied it into the bin folder, it would immediately be installed and usable. So without any more delay, let's open up the shell and we can try making our first repository. So the first thing that you need to understand is what you're looking at when you have a shell just sitting and blinking in front of you. You are actually in a location on the file system. So any commands that I type in are going to be relative to where I am. And you can see I'm in C users Jonathan, and that's a folder. So whenever you're browsing folders on your computer, for example, bring one up. This is C Fossil Tutorial Software AIO. So I can actually go here and I can change into it, and I do that with the cd command. So I can go C Fossil Tutorial, and I can hit tab to complete things as I go. And now if I type in the command that lists all the files, which is dir on Windows, I can see that I have bin cmder, and then I have the same thing here. Now this is really important because any commands that you give Fossil are going to be relative to where you're typing them in. So let's say that we wanted to create an example project. I'm going to put it in a folder called projects. So I'm going to cd into that. And to that I'm going to say I want to go back one, and I want to go into projects. And here I am. So I'm going to create the repository, but I'm going to create it in a folder. So I'm going to make a directory. I'm going to call it test repository, test repo. So I'm going to change into that. And now I'm just going to double check to make sure Fossil is installed. So I can do that just by going Fossil. And then I can see that it's giving me, some information because I didn't actually tell it what to do. So I'm going to tell it that I want to create a new repository. And I do that by doing fossil init, and then the name of the database that is going to track the source control. So I'm going to call it test repo again. And I'm going to give it an extension to show that it is a Fossil database. Now it's giving me some information. I'll get back to that in a little bit. But now if I check to see what's in the directory, you'll see that there's something called testrepo.fossil. This is a file where it puts all of the changes to files as you make them and make commits to it. And when you make a commit, it's basically you're looking at the files that you have, and then you're putting the changes in there. I'll get to that more in a few seconds. So there it is. Now I need to tell Fossil that I want to use this, like this folder, for storing my files. So in order to do that, I'm going to say, oops, there we go. I'm going to tell Fossil to open the test repository. And now it's created another file, and that shows that Fossil is now watching this directory. It won't do anything unless we tell it to, but it's kind of like saying that this is the root of our repository. So even if we make another directory, that's also going to be something that can be included in the source control. So now that we have that, let's create a file. I'm just going to open up a text editor, and I'm going to call the file. What should I call it? I may as well just call it test. I'm going to make a markdown file. Wait for Sublime Text to open. So now I have a file. I'm going to give it some basic content. Yeah, basic content. Make that a heading. This is a paragraph to go along with our content. I'm going to save it. I'm going to close this. And I'm going to ask Fossil what it's keeping track of. So I'm going to say Fossil status. So there's a few things here. It's telling me what the root of the fossil is, what the database file it's connected to is. It's also going to show me, like down here, it will show me if there's anything I should know about, but there's nothing there right now. It's also showing me that I'm in the main part of the repository. I'll get to that later again. So anyways, I want to ask Fossil what it might be able to start tracking, because it's not tracking that file I just made yet. So I'm going to go Fossil extra, and it has done nothing, which is strange because it should be doing something. Alright, regardless, typically if you have files that are not being tracked and you type in Fossil extra, it will actually show them in a list. So I'm going to tell Fossil I want to add test.md. Now I'm going to do Fossil status again. So now we can see that it has added this file to its tracking for the first time. And it hasn't actually done anything with that file yet. It just knows that it's there and that it should probably start looking at it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a commit, and this is like a snapshot of what I'm currently working on. So if I were to go ahead and maybe this was like a big project and it really mattered, then maybe I made some changes that really messed everything up. I can actually go back to my previous commit, and then it's like nothing ever happened. So I'm going to say Fossil commit. It is going to open up a text editor. And this is where I'm going to type in my message to say exactly what I did during this commit. So I'm going to say that I created a test file to the repository. Then I'm going to save it and then close it. And Fossil is going to realize that the text editor has been closed, and then it's going to know that the message is complete. So I'll do that. Because it was using the Windows Notepad program, Windows Notepad is using a really old form of line ending. So I'm going to tell it to convert it. And then because it's had to convert it, it's asking me if I want to, make sure that everything's going right. So I'm going to say Fossil commit again, and I'm going to save it again and close it. And it's told me that I haven't changed anything, which is kind of tedious, but we'll deal with that too because we're not going to continue using the Windows Notepad for this. It's going to say continue, and now it's showing me that I've got a new version. So if I go Fossil status, you'll notice that the added message has disappeared, and that my current checkout is this number, which is the same as this one. So that shows that I'm currently at the latest version. If I wanted to go backwards, I could go Fossil checkout, Fossil update to the parent, and then that file wouldn't be there anymore. So let's try that. Fossil update, and we'll just grab this big long number. If I can remember how to do that. Now this is something that I should have checked ahead of time, because right-clicking doesn't work. So before I do any more damage, I am going to try that again. Except I'm not going to enter all of the numbers. I believe you only need to do a couple of them. Should be enough. Alright, so if you noticed over here on this side that the file has gone. The file that I added is not there anymore. You'll also notice that it's created an original file. That is a byproduct of when it made the conversion from the line endings, I think. It normally doesn't happen. It shouldn't happen after we make some changes. So anyways, now I'm going to tell it I want to go back to the main part, so I'm going to say Fossil update trunk, and you can see that the file has come back. Alright, now that we have that, what else? One thing that you will probably want to do is see what's changed during each commit. So if I do fossil timeline, it's going to show me that only pretty much two things have been done. I created the repository and then I created a file. So let's go ahead and edit that file. And of course, my terminal is very slow for some reason. And tell it that I want to modify test.md. And we'll save that and close it. Fossil status. Fossil is showing me that I've edited a test file. Let's go ahead and see if we can get it to realize when another file has been created. I'm going to create a subdirectory. I'm going to call this one source. It's going to do fossil extra. Nothing. Let's go into that source folder. Alright, so it looks like there's something wrong with that. So if you run into the same problem, it's probably because of the custom compilation of this particular version. If you get the version off the site, this shouldn't be an issue. Alright, I think I'm going to stop there for now. And in the next video, we're going to get into the user interface that Fossil provides, and also some of the settings so that we don't need to deal with the Windows Notepad anymore. Thanks.